Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, February 6th, 2025 South Haven Planning Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll do with a roll call.
Mike Campbell,
Here.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Mary Hasley,
Here.
Amy Nichols, Eddie Polk, Bob Sherman,
Here.
Janice Barney,
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here.
I would make a motion to excuse Eddie Polk and Amy Nichols.
Support.
Both of them did give us prior notice that they couldn't be here.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? They are excused. Next up, we'll have approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. And if there be no objection, I would like to add item 5A, which would be titled Short-Term Rental Ordinance Recommendation Determination. Seeing no objections, the motion to approve the agenda,
Did you get a support?
don't need it. I said unless there's an objection. I'm a chair, I can't make a motion, but I can do that. If you'd rather, maybe somebody would like to make the motion.
I'll make a motion to add 5A STR ordinance recommendation determination.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor of the
Discussion.
amendment? Okay,
There was no notice, no supporting material, there's no preparation for it. I cannot support adding something to which I have no notice for.
sounds familiar. Okay. So we'll do a roll call on my, the amendment.
May I ask, what is the amendment? I mean, I understand that it was made, but I don't know the meat of the subject.
I want to discuss from a few meetings back where Mary did not liaise properly for the planning commission.
Oh, okay. I thought that was determined within your rules and procedures that we'll be looking at today.
That too. This is something akin to that.
Well, I thought that's where it would be addressed.
This is a little bit different though.
All right.
And, Chair? Contrary to popular belief, notices were provided to, when I have added things to the agenda, to other council members prior to the meeting, out of respect for their, so that if they had questions, they could have contacted me.
Well, we can discuss that later on if this so passes. So we'll do a roll call for the amendment to the approval of the agenda.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Hasley,
No.
Sherman,
Yes.
Barney,
No?
Campbell,
No.
Stegman.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And then approval of the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries. Item 3, approval of the meeting minutes. We have 2 Thursdays, January 2nd. One's a regular meeting, one's a workshop.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for Thursday, January 2nd, 2025, regular meeting, and Thursday, January 2nd, 2025, workshop.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion?
I had one item on the, this is on page 8 of the agenda packet. Probably just a typo. It says Sherman thanked everyone for attending. Probably meant thanked everyone for attending, but I'll let Let that be noted.
Anything else? Okay, seeing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the planning commission regarding items on the agenda for which there is no scheduled public hearing. First up, let's do the coastal resiliency.
Oh, micro.
And adjust the mic as needed.
Okay. How's that?
Perfect.
Everybody hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna Johnson. I work for the Van Buren Conservation District out of Paw Paw. And I wanted to come here tonight just to inform everybody, this is the first time I've really talked to people, officials in South Haven, about a grant that we just received. At the end of 2024 is when the official agreement was signed. But the bulk of the work is happening this year. And the grant is called Protecting Van Buren County Coastal Areas Through Outreach and Education. And this grant relates to specifically the coastal resiliency section of your master plan that you guys are drafting. It sounds like you're kind of in the end stages of that drafting process. There's like the final reviews and all that, but a lot of the writing has been done. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
So this grant is to do outreach and education in South Haven and Covert Townships in the city in South Haven. And a lot of what I'm, for lack of a better way to explain it, on the ground work is happening in Covert Township, but I want to make sure everybody in South Haven knows that the event that we're planning to do, we're calling it our Dune Day event, is going to happen at Covert Park Beach, and people are invited to that. And just to keep your eyes open for that, we're going to be sending out some mailers to people who live in the coastal zone of both South Haven and Covert that are just, it's educational materials, and to check out our library display at Covert Library when that goes up. It will be a coastal resiliency display. And I was interested in this particular meeting because your master plan is still on the agenda, and I wanted to make sure I swooped in before that got off the agenda, and then I lose any chance of hearing you guys discuss the coastal resiliency section. But I talked to Kelly on the phone earlier, and she said it sounds like you guys probably aren't going to get to that today. But I still wanted to come, introduce myself, introduce the project, and if any of you have any follow-up questions or think you might, I did bring my cards if anybody's interested. And if not, you can just go on our website. We don't really have a specific page for the grant, but there's our office number there and what the Van Buren Conservation District is overall, and you can always call to get more information that way. But is there a good place to leave these cards? Okay. I doubt all of you are going to want one, so yeah, I could take like half the deck and then just enough so people have the choice. Yeah, and I think that's everything. Did anybody have any questions before I?
No, just congratulations on receiving the grant.
Thank you very much. It's been a long time coming. We actually applied for the grant in 2023, but there was delays on the grant funders' end, so we are finally able to start the project this year, and it's exciting. So yeah, I might, oh yeah.
I was going to say, excuse me, Mary, you said it, the grant source, is that the state of Michigan or is it another source?
Oh yes, so it's through Eagle.
Okay,
And NOAA is also involved, so it's state level through Eagle, and my direct contact is an Eagle employee, but NOAA is also.
NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is that the agency we're talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So yeah, it's kind of federal, but it's state more
Okay.
heavily.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yes.
So are you going to put some information at our Bailey Hyde Museum for that to educate people about the upcoming event?
Yes, we are planning to get some sort of advertising materials made for the Dune Day event. That is the only on-the-ground event that we're doing. Everything else is, the library display, mailers, attending municipal meetings. But the Dune Day event, yeah, we are planning to push, and it's happening in Covert, but we do want to put flyers, or we haven't landed exactly on how we're going to advertise yet, but we do want to put out materials so members of both South Haven and Covert Townships can know the details and be encouraged to attend.
Okay.
And make sure our Visitors Bureau knows about it, too.
Okay, that's a good tip. So Visitors Bureau and Liberty Hyde, yeah, we already work some with Liberty Hyde, so. we can
Kelly,
have-
remind me who's on our ad hoc committee for Shoreline?
I believe Amy was on the committee, Mary is on the committee, and and Larry.
Larry, so Mary's in the purple and this is Larry, so you'll be seeing them again.
Perfect, perfect. Yes, in the future, I may go to a city council meeting when they get the master plan in their hands, because the chain of events is you guys go over it, and then eventually, after some middleman stuff, it gets passed to the city council. So I may attend that meeting as well, but I wanted to come to this one first and meet the planning commission, and, yeah,
Well, this is
Get-
where
get in
things
early.
get done, so that's a good idea.
absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. And I think I heard Kelly alluding to the fact that I might leave early. I am going to sit and just listen to the beginning stages, but I might duck out early because it sounds like you guys aren't talking a lot about the coastal resiliency today. So just wanted to say thank you, and it's lovely to meet you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak on items on the agenda which we don't have a public hearing for? Say your name, address, you'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Grace Borgfield, and I live at 302 Michigan Avenue. I have some questions. This is kind of a question, some questions, and I have some comments on the future temporary signs. So my question to you is, I printed out page 22 of your agenda or your packet, and one of my questions is, where would a home business fit? Would it fit under residential lots or non-residential lots? Where would that fit?
Well, ask your questions, Kelly will write them down, and then we'll get back to them.
Okay, thanks, that's one thing. So I couldn't, I tried today, Kelly, I tried to figure out where a home business would have signage, and I couldn't find it. I must have spent an hour on that doggone thing. But anyways, so my question is, wherever that would fit. And so then I think of, like, I would assume the commercial STRs are non-residential lots, correct?
Well, just slowly ask your questions, she'll write them down. I don't want you to lose your 5 minutes time.
Oh, well, no, that's a lot of my questions. So, but here's what I struggle with. If you have a residential lot, and I'm next to a lot of STRs. So I can have 4 signs, they can have 1. There's no time limit on mine, I can leave it out there forever. But then the signs that are in some of these residential lots, that's what I struggle with. Or in some of these STRs. They consider them temporary. I'm not sure the ones that I know of around my house have been sitting there for 3 years plus. So to me, that's not temporary. I don't care if they're on a little stick this big around or they're planted in the ground very strongly. Those to me are permanent advertisements for them for free. That's what I struggle with. So I don't know how that can be addressed. And then a homeowner gets 6 square feet, which is not very much, but an STR gets 32 square feet, according to this paper, which is almost 5 times as much as a residential gets. And if I leave it in there very long, I can guarantee the ordinance guy is going to be telling me to pull it out. I can guarantee it. Don't laugh, but you know it's true. So height and all that kind of stuff. So that's my questions. And then, where do group homes fit in? I couldn't figure out if they could have a sign. So keep writing them down, Kelly. You'll get back to me. Adult daycare centers, where do they fit into this? I couldn't get that information today. and then I did a little bit of homework. The average person in this country receives 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements a day. That's a lot. Try buying a pair of tennis shoes without a manufacturer's logo on it. I mean, I'm not here to complain about that. What I am here to say is we're a residential neighborhood that has signs in it that are advertising for free forever. And that's what I'm opposed to. So, you know, I don't even like the little signs in the windows that tell them that it's an STR because it's got people's personal phone numbers on there. I don't have an STR, but I wouldn't like my phone number sitting up there. I wouldn't appreciate it. So on that note, that's my thing. I hope you look into this, and I wish some of those signs would go away. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Kelly, that reminds me, probably jot down, we need to discuss people who have wrapped their vehicles, their company they work for, and they park in their home driveway. Is that okay or not? Okay. All right, next.
Good evening, Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. I came tonight to express my concerns as well as the concerns of many others who could not be here on tonight as it pertains to the discussions that this board has had regarding the possible changes to the future land use map. As a longtime resident, I lived on the south side of Ward 1 for over 58 years. In 58 years, I've seen a lot of changes that our ward has gone through. In 58 years, I've seen factories come and factories go. I've seen families come and go. But in 58 years, I've never seen a change to our neighborhood that's been so challenging, and that's putting it nicely, than what has been caused by the oversaturation of STRs in our neighborhood. And in my humble opinion, in 2016, this board, along with those who were on the city council at the time, allowed for our neighborhoods to be ripped away from us, allowing commercial businesses in the form of STRs to operate in our one zoning areas was a zoning issue then, and in my humble opinion, is a zoning issue now. But nevertheless, as a result of that decision, the south side of Ward 1 has been left flooded with more STRs per block than any other ward in our city. And it's a sad thing, and the sad thing about it is all this has been done in spite of the concern or desires of the year-round residents of Ward 1. And now to add to the lack of concern and frustration, this board is considering allowing mixed use in Ward 1 in order to accommodate the building of apartment complex units on residential streets. I want to know how long will this board continue to ignore and recommend changes that goes contrary to the will of the residents. I myself, along with many others, believe that it is wrong to expect residents to support the further mutilation of and defacing of our neighborhood characteristics for a few hoping for personal gain. For not only will it change the characteristic of our neighborhood, but it will be a potential opening of a door in the future that will allow for this type of building to be converted into STR properties. Therefore, mixed-use zoning, regardless of how this board define it for land use, should at no point be used to allow for apartment complexes to be built on our residential streets. I know some have argued for the need to have mixed-use zoning in Ward 1, but I said it before and I'll say it again. If it's that needed, if it's that important, then don't propose a change to a few blocks on the south side of Ward 1. If it's really needed, then blanket the whole city, blanket the entire city, Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3 with mixed use. If in fact that this board can't make that decision in good conscience, then I ask this board to no longer entertain land use discussions of rezoning changes that would allow for building of apartment complexes on the south side of Ward 1 in residential areas. That is my concern. That is the concern of many others. It is just further ripping the characteristics of our neighborhood apart. So I stand here tonight asking this board to reconsider any efforts of allowing a few blocks to be turned into, rezoned into mixed use in order to accommodate apartment complexes for a few that wants personal gain. That's not fair to me nor the other residents. So please, make the right decision and try to help us keep what's left of our neighborhood intact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Jim Wetlaufer, 3 Oak Court, South Haven, Michigan. We were here at the last meeting, January 2nd, and I'm just looking for some clarification regarding the Bundy's Bakery in Oak Court, what was happening. They were going to take a residential piece of property, which is Oak Court number 1, and combined it with Bundy's parcel. I don't know if that has changed or not. Just looking for clarification if that has been dropped, because neighbors and other people have been here at that meeting discussing their disappointment if that would to happen. So I don't know if the commission has changed that or updated it or not, because the map we received on the last packet, page 186, I believe, the red commercial zone still showed 1 Oak Court being part of that, which is a residential property. So I'm just kind of looking for some clarification on that.
Kelly, is there any clarification you can give them at this time?
After the last meeting, the group decided that 1 Oak Court should be removed. And so the intent is for that to be removed. And if it looks on the map as though it's still included, then that's a clarification we can make. We know that several of the maps in the plan still need to be updated. And so we do plan to ensure that all of the maps are as intended, clear, properly numbered, not blurry. So there's a lot of work yet to be done with the maps, and that is something that we can ensure happens before the final document is released.
Okay.
So does that mean Oak Court is, the residential property is not included?
Correct.
Correct, okay, thank you very much. And then the next issue is regarding the Bundy's property turning it into a commercial use type. I know it has been grandfathered in the past, just wondering why the grandfather clause cannot stay. Something curious, we're such in a tightly density-oriented neighborhood that we love the bakery, we love the owners of the bakery, they are very nice people. Just worrying if they do sell the property and it could turn into something else under the commercial umbrella. So I would like to see that property stay as grandfathered piece in our residential neighborhood. And I'd also like to thank the Planning Commission and the city employees for listening to the neighbors of our community and dropping that number 1 Oak Court residential property from a commercial use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I suppose, Kelly, to answer that one, it would be, we're trying to make the attempt to, how do I want to say this? Make an attempt to get rid of any ambiguities and make sure the zoning is consistent with the use, so more like as-built zoning.
Right. I don't know if you want me to provide additional explanation now or if you want to do it later.
Well, I was just trying to give a quick
Okay.
answer to
Right. So the quick answer is that under the previous zoning, Bundy's was a permitted use. Under the current zoning, it isn't. And so that's part of the reason for making this change. I would just want to further clarify, the change that we're making right now is not a change in the zoning ordinance. It's not a change on the zoning map. It's a future land use map change, which is very different from the zoning.
Correct. Yep.
So there is no change happening right now to Bundy's. The zoning is still as it was.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm John Busselmeyer. I live at 3 Willow Court, South Haven. And I'd like to address the same issues Jim just talked about. It's good to hear that number 1 Oak Court has been removed from the commercial zone. Thank you very much. Concerned still with the Bundy Bakery property. Like Jim said, it's a good bakery. We like the owners. It's non-conforming as it is. It's going to be non-conforming to whatever you change it to. Why make the change? We get along fine the way it is. There's no need to change it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
My name's Rich Green, 401, sorry, that's somewhere else, 408 Eagle Street, Shores Vacation Rentals. Now, I originally didn't come here tonight to actually talk about short-term rentals or to put you guys on the spot about problems here, problems there, but I thought after hearing tonight, I probably should just jump in and just say a public comment about that. Now, we have 70 owners, as I've stated to you guys before, that we manage. Our homeowners would love to take those signs out of their front yard or off their door. A lot of our homeowners feel that's just kind of a target, that house is empty when it's not rented out. And so we've heard a lot of people complain about these signs, and what we'll tell you, would be the first, at least for Shores, to say our homeowners would say, yeah, let's take those out of our windows. Let's take those out of our front yard. Shores, we don't need to advertise. We've been here 40-some years. Most of our clients are repeat clients that come and rent from us, and we have a really great, strong web presence. So we don't need to advertise out in front of our house what places are ours. They'll see them on the website, and they can Google Earth them if they want to look a little bit closer. Now, if it's for the city, and I've heard before from you guys, not so much maybe the planning commission, but the city council, and maybe even zoning, that it's for our police departments, it's for our code enforcers, for our fire department to know if it's a short-term rental or not. My suggestion is, move it to a little QR code that can be easily scanned on in one of the back doors if need be, if you need this for enforcement issues or something like that, if it's such a problem in the neighborhoods, or if it's causing blight in the neighborhoods. It's an easy solve. We'd gladly like I said, take them down, Now, the second thing is to talk about the oversaturation of STRs really quick here. And, what a duality this is. Because a lot of people with that, it's the second homeowners that are buying vacation homes here. And then they're using the ability to short-term rent them out to help pay for that mortgage usually. And a lot of the realtors would probably come here and tell you that's the same thing, and that's one of their spiels of being able to get here. But it's, like whether you take away short-term rentals in these neighborhoods or not, you're still going to be having people buy vacation homes here, left and right. I lived in Chicago for 15 years, and out of most of the people I met, everybody's been to South Haven. There was just a handful of people who said, oh, I never made it past Michigan City. Most people know of South Haven. Most are transplants. So, when you think about short-term rentals, I would also say if you're talking about why our neighborhoods are empty, there's a lot of vacation rental homes, period. And I'm not sure what you can do to regulate somebody from buying a second home. I think that's your guys's. What I came here tonight, actually, was to talk about tiny homes and growing the middle class here in South Haven. Because at the last city council meeting, I was told to put my money where my
You're
mouth
referring
is.
to the master plan update?
Just in general.
Okay.
If that's where it needs to be put in. I just thought we'll throw it out there because, we're working to actually create some tiny homes and some subdivisions out here. And I guess the name that my wife Amber wanted me to use was pocket neighborhoods. And then there's a lot of going around in the United States. And, I was looking them up. I found that, Iowa was one of the first states to embrace tiny homes. And at zoning meeting, I'll bring this to your attention as well, and show you guys. This is the International Residential Code, and so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if we're really talking about pulling in the middle class and the working class here, we have to have affordability. They can't afford these homes. Amy O'Sullivan was just selling, like, last week of January, closed on, the lowest property was $500,000. Her highest property was $6 million. We all know that those homes increases the property tax here. But if you could create a pocket division where you could have $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 mini homes that are beautiful and luxury, you could start pulling some of those millennials who like to do remote work. Because the next problem you guys have to identify is actually how to get bigger businesses in here and more corporations. Or the working class, maybe tax subsidies for the electrician, the plumber, the construction worker. But I would ask you guys again to think about zoning, think about creating some of these areas where tiny homes, which is what millennials are buying. And right now, they've taken back the purchasing power of real estate in the United States. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll go over my planning commission comment log. We have a letter from Lisa Cupieres regarding signs. One from Helen Tolson, One Oak Court, future land use designation, and one from Bill Roberts, Apache Court zoning district and desire for rezoning. Am I missing anything? I think that's all three for the last period. Okay, so ends the public comment. Unfinished business, we have none. New business. Rules of procedure, item 5. Kelly.
Thank you. Last month, the Planning Commission discussed the rules of procedure, the bylaws, and several changes that you all wanted to make, mostly regarding voting, specifically the vote passing, as we discussed previously, conflict of interest, applicant attendance at meetings, and public hearings, when to read the comments that we receive. These changes were made by staff and forwarded to the city attorney for review, and after reviewing, several additional changes were made, which you can see in the packet in the red line version. A lot of them were formatting, so there are a lot of red lines, and it looks like more changes than it is, but hopefully you picked up on the changes that were made there. And we're bringing the document back for your review and potential adoption if you're happy with the changes, and if you have additional changes that you'd like to make, that's fine too. We'll talk about that.
Okay. Anybody have a motion?
Are you looking for a motion to adopt so we can discuss?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Guess I would make a motion then to adopt the Planning Commission rules and procedures as presented in our packet,
Okay.
beginning in page 11.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have several comments and questions, questions that I think Kelly can address. So in 4.6 on voting, it says alphabetically.
What page?
I'm sorry, it's on page 17.
17.
Okay.
The alphabetical order is what we follow now, but you do a kind of a rolling alphabetical. Is that still how that would intended to be done?
Yes, and I believe the previous bylaws did not address how the roll would be called, and the attorney felt that we needed to specify
Okay.
that it would be
be
alphabetical
roll.
order or some other order of our choosing.
Okay, great. Right below in 4.7 on conflict of interest, there's 2 or 3 comments I have. So in Cap A, it talks about participation by a member in a public hearing, lobbying, or voting on any of the following is considered a conflict of interest. So public hearing, lobbying, or voting, does that include just the general discussion even where there's not a public hearing? Is that what lobbying means?
This was language from the previous zoning ordinance, so I don't have a great definition for you for lobbying.
Because
I
it
believe
would
that
be
would mean
nice that,
advocating for something.
yeah, if that is the case, it might be good to have it clearer, to say that just the discussion. The three instances of where conflicts of interest could occur, let me give an example to see if it fits into one of those three. So if we're deliberating over a short-term rental ordinance, and I own a short-term rental property, I would consider that to be a potential conflict of interest for me. But I'm not sure it fits any one of the three little I situations.
Right. I think conflict of interest is not always cut and dry, and that's part of the reason for the disclosure and the discussion at a meeting if you're not sure.
And I think
Art.
one of the ways that was described to us multiple times when I was both on planning and council, and it was brought up by our legal team, if we were talking about Central Lofts when I owned a condo in Central Lofts, I did step away because of a conflict of interest within my building. If we were talking about a short-term rental ordinance, it spreads out the entire community. So if I had or did not have a short-term rental, that wasn't a conflict of interest because it's spread out throughout the entire city. So the ordinance spreads to everyone. But if it was my building or my development or my brother's or my neighbor's and I felt like I couldn't, then that's a good reason to back off. And that's how it was explained to us, because we had, a real estate individual on planning, and we had someone else who owned, a business with short-term rental, but because it was a large area and applied to everyone, there wasn't that conflict of interest.
And that was from the legal counsel?
That was from our legal team, yeah, that was from the lawyer, who kind of explained, because, the conflict is because, and I think it says a couple of things there, question are leased and owned, and it's directed to an individual versus directed to an entire community. So if we decided that people couldn't build a deck a certain size, and you were about to build the deck, or you owned a deck and it was suddenly, then we'll start talking about everyone in a R1A. And if you own an in an R1A, you then would benefit or not benefit. Same application.
Okay, thank you. Then cap B, it says, before casting a vote on a matter on which a member may reasonably be considered to have a conflict of interest, the member shall disclose the conflict. But if in A, they're not supposed to participate in a discussion or a public hearing, should that B not say before or at the time that the agenda item is introduced? Should they not disclose it before the vote? Because the vote is the last thing that happens.
Sure.
So I would suggest that we might want to make a change there. Item 4.8, applicant attendance required. We had somewhat of a discussion of this last time as to whether the applicant or the representative must be in attendance at a meeting or may be attendance at a meeting. I strongly believe that if somebody wants the planning commission to do something, then they or their representative needs to be here. That's the least respect that they can provide us, because we may have questions that we need to get answers to. And if no one's here representing, then we're operating in a vacuum and we may miss information that is significant to the decision. So I do believe that it should remain will. Then finally, there were changes made to the rights of everyone to comment during public comment, and then there was another section that had rules for public hearing. There may not be a conflict, but in the general section on public comments, which is 4.9 on page 18, it says, "All persons wishing to comment shall be given an opportunity." In B, on the next page, 19, it says that the chairperson during a public hearing may ask a member of the public to caucus with others with similar positions so that they may select a single spokesperson. And it gives the chair the option to extend the time. I see a conflict there because then it's saying, no, not everybody has a right to speak in public comment for a public hearing. So I would suggest we need to resolve that conflict. I see the benefit from the chair's perspective. I just think we need to reconcile that. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I have one comment, and it's, let's see, it's 4.9C, and I was wondering why the individual does not need to provide their address, as we have in the past. This is where they come up to speak,
Okay.
and they gave their name.
I don't remember reading that one.
It's
I thought the
C.
same thing, Jan. It's on page 13 in the original document. I couldn't find it in the marked-up version, but it
It's
says,
18.
will state their name, but doesn't
No.
say anything about address, which is traditionally what's been done in all of our
Right,
meetings,
and
so,
helpful sometimes to put the question in context.
right.
And this is something that the attorney is recommending because the board cannot prohibit a person from speaking because they won't provide their address. But should the commission wish to add that provision back in, that will be okay.
Maybe the onus should be on the person speaking if they decide not to want to give their address, say, I prefer not giving my address, rather than the other way around.
A comment about Mike's point, because I think it's valid, about the individual or representative being present and may or will be present. My instinct would be if we've got an issue and the applicant or representative is not here, I wouldn't have any interest in acting on it. I would simply, you're not interested enough to be here, I wouldn't act on it. But I understand your point, but I think we have an easy way to avoid an issue there, too.
I agree with you that I hear your point, and I read it several times, and then I thought, you know, if they're not here and we do have a question and they don't have a representative, I would be inclined not to move it forward.
Right.
Well, depending on the scope and size of the project, we only meet once a month. And sometimes the larger projects can't always make it because they're maybe in another community. I don't know. We've seen some various circumstances where they haven't been able to be in attendance, and some decisions needed to be made for them to move to the next step. So, I don't know. I think it's okay as is. Anybody else? Yes.
Yep. For 4.6, for the conflict of interest, it provides that the vote is yes or no, but I believe that you need to provide for an abstention and state the conflict of interest. It's silent on that effect, and so it is directing someone to vote yes or no. It doesn't provide the opportunity to abstain because of a conflict of interest. For 4.7A, for the list of items that are listed under sub I I believe it is, yes. I would include renter or property manager for both for the small Roman numeral 1 and 2.
I didn't catch which section?
After, 4.7A, Roman numeral 1 and 2, after renter and before or, I would insert property manager. I had the same concern about when to state the conflict of interest, and it should not be just before the vote. It should be before there's any discussion. If there's a conflict of interest, the member should not be involved in the discussion. For 4.8, I was the one who identified the shall to may, because I have not seen it consistently done. And I appreciate that sometimes things come up where they cannot be there. From discussion at the last meeting, it actually sounded like several members actually preferred that it stay will. And upon hearing their comments, I was actually more inclined to leave it at will as opposed to making it may. And tonight hasn't really changed my mind on that part. For 4.11B, and looking to see, oh, yes, sorry, I was still at 4. So 4.11B, all deliberations and decisions of the commission shall be made at a meeting to the public. I know Kelly calls us to answer questions that we have before meetings, which are very helpful to facilitate allowing our meetings to be slightly shorter. However, if those questions and answers help a commissioner clarify things in their own mind and help them decide how to vote, that should be restated on the record during the meeting so that people understand what issues the commissioner had and why the commissioner voted the way the commissioner did. And for the spokesperson, that hadn't been discussed at the previous meeting, and so I only became aware of that aspect when the agenda published. And I finally found information today from MSU Extension on sample bylaws for the Planning Commission. And although we call these rules of procedure, they're identified as bylaws in the staff report. They're identified as bylaws on the city website. And if you search those for spokesperson, if you go, it talks about that a spokesperson can be identified. But what part was missed in the spokesperson part is that on page 30 and 31 of that document, the link was sent today after I found the document. And section 3D of the bylaws talks about the spokesperson. And says, provides for a spokesperson for the commission, make sure the provision in section 3D does not contradict with the staff performing that function here, considering omitting the reference because for F4A, it talks about the planning director, and in this case it would be the zoning administrator, is usually the one who presents to the commissions and presents the recommendations to the governing body. And the staff person is who prepares the reports, not only for us, but also for city council. And the staff person presents it, and the liaison is there to answer additional questions. And kind of looking at some of the history over the last few years, you know, when the height ordinance was in front of the Planning Commission, because I had identified the typographical error in the official documents where the stories had been omitted in 2015 when it was transcribed into the official document, and I identified that in July 2022. The city council had a discussion and requested the Planning Commission to look at whether stories or just height should be included, and the Planning Commission did that and made a recommendation of just height based on feet to the city council at the June 1st, 2023 meeting. And that was actually a split vote. And then it was introduced on June 20th with a split vote to set it for a public hearing on July 5th. And on July 5th, a motion was made, and that motion died. So I would just caution you to try to control what the city council does through what you believe would be bylaws. What you are proposing is inconsistent with the MSU Extension Land Use Series template for bylaws. And the Planning Commission liaison, or I should say the City Council liaison to Planning Commission, is set by City Council. City Council controls who sits on the Planning Commission. The liaison is to, in my opinion, and I had requested that the City Council actually address this to provide guidance so that we are all on the same page, because it appears over the last year that there is a disconnect of things wanting to get pushed through and City Council wanting more discussion. And with City Council being the policy setting elected officials, that is their prerogative. And if a City Council member makes a motion before other motions are made, that's the motion on the table. And we have to go by what happens at City Council. We cannot try to influence them, being an advisory board. And that has been, there have been other attempts to persuade City Council, and specifically City Council members by different residents, to vote one way or the other, and that is your prerogative to contact your City Council member. But it is the City Council member who does the votes, makes the motions, and passes the laws. So with the way the spokesperson provision section is currently written, it's inconsistent with MSU Extension, and it's not consistent with how the City Council liaison is appointed to Planning Commission, and before the Planning Commission can make a recommendation to City Council as to how the liaison should work, but I believe that that would be in the purview of the City Council.
Anyone else? Seeing no further comments and no motions to amend,
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Okay.
I would move to amend the previous motion in section 4.8,
Okay.
strike the word may and reinsert the word will.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I still do like the word may, because I believe it provides the ability of this board to make a decision of why the individual wasn't here. At the same time, that also gives us that ability to say, no, You know, we may decide there was, you know, a reason we need to have that individual here, and they're not. And so we can get, you know, take care of that. And at the same time, depending on the size of the project, the situation of the individual or group of individuals looking for that, we don't know what the situation could have been, or the knowledge that we have on that particular project. Or in one time, I can think when we've had someone kind of come and give us a presentation prior to us looking at their project, and then their project coming back the next month without any changes, and actually, you know, taking some input that we had. So I think I still like the word may, because it provides flexibility, and I understand the reasonings behind the change to a will.
I would agree, and if you absolutely needed them, you could postpone to the next meeting.
May gives us flexibility, will gives us zero flexibility.
I think there's a point of integrity here. If somebody has a project for us to consider, they ought to be here. Oh, I realize that May, we still have some authority there, but it's weak. And if you've got a big project, they're going to be here, or they're going to be here next month. Big projects don't happen in 3 days, or they don't happen in 3 weeks. We've had will in there for many years. It hasn't caused us a problem that I have recognized. And we haven't had any complaints either from a developer that he had to be here, or had to have his representative here.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, I think may can be interpreted so many different ways. I think will shows what the expectation is, and when you show what the expectation is, people will follow that expectation.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, we'll vote on the amendment, and we'll do a roll call.
Could we restate the amendment just for clarity, please?
Strike the word may from the draft and reinsert the word will.
Thank you.
Heinig,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Sherman,
No.
Barney,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Gruber,
No.
Stegman.
No.
Motion carries.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment
okay,
to 4.7 Cap B to replace the words "before casting a vote" with "at the introduction of," so that it would read, "at the introduction of a matter on which a member may reasonably be considered to have a conflict of interest, the member shall disclose the potential conflict of interest to the Planning Commission."
okay. Do you have that, Samantha?
Support.
Any discussion?
I think that's an excellent plan. It also provides the rest of the commission the ability to ask a question of that individual if so desired, but we get that conflict right up front.
Agreed.
I believe that's the way we have done it, at least I did it that way.
It has, but I think making sure we put that in before the vote, that we place it in the right spot, I think that's it's easy.
Anyone else? We'll do roll call.
Hasley,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay,
I have another motion. In also 4.7B, at the end, however, no member who believes he/she has a conflict of interest shall be required to vote on the matter. I would,
where are you at again?
at the very bottom of 4.7B, the one that
That's
you just,
same paragraph, only at the end.
Page 18 in the packet.
Okay,
yep. after matter and before the period, and shall abstain from voting. I think it is repetitive, but I think the person has to either say yes, no, or abstain. I don't think just being silent is acceptable.
So, however, no member who believes he, she has a conflict of interest shall be required to vote on the matter.
Or, that
Or
actually,
abstain.
or abstain. So after matter, insert or abstain. Or shall abstain, excuse me.
Well, if they abstain, they don't
Right.
cast.
I think we don't want an or there. I think no member who believes they have a conflict shall be required to vote.
And shall abstain. I think that's what I said initially.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Yes, actually, I don't disagree with it, but it seems like now it's framed in a very negative sense of getting an abstain, as opposed to just saying a member who believes he, she has a conflict of interest shall abstain when voting on the matter. And just say it positively. I mean,
And it,
unless I'm reading something wrongly.
it's been practice on most commissions in the city council, when there's a conflict of interest, that person removes themselves from this position and goes to the audience, so they wouldn't even be up here to take a
To
vote.
vote. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
That's the proper way, because if you're still sitting here, not voting, maybe it's intimidating, I don't know.
So if that were the case, do we still continue with the motion? I want to make sure that I vote correctly.
Yeah,
And Mary, you're saying they should, how should they vote?
well, now that you explain that they actually remove themselves and go into the audience, they're not in
A position
panel
to vote?
to vote.
And assuming it was a roll call vote, the name wouldn't even be called, right?
The reality is this happens differently everywhere you go. Conflict of interest is very tricky,
Yeah, it's rare.
and it's
I've only seen it a couple times in 30 years. So,
Okay, well, with that explanation, I'll withdraw the motion
okay.
to amend.
Motion's been withdrawn. Any further motions?
Yes. For 7A, 1 and 2, where I was talking, I would move to insert after renter, comma, and before or property manager.
Is there support?
I'm going to support that from the fact that we do have a lot of property managers here in South Haven, and potentially they could find themselves on a board, because we should have boards with, a vast variety of backgrounds and disciplines, so I don't have a problem with that, so I'm going to support that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Sherman,
Yes.
Varney,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Anything further?
Yes. for the reasons I discussed. The language for the spokesperson is inconsistent with what I would expect based on MSU extension. And I would move to strike Section 5 until further discussion with the city council.
Seeing no second, it's annulled.
So then I would move to strike the last sentence of 5.1 that says, unless otherwise determined by the commission, the spokesperson for the commission to the city council shall be the member of the city council serving as an ex officio member of the commission for the reasons stated before.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion?
So Mary, you're suggesting striking the second sentence in 5.1, is that correct?
Yes. Because as I had stated, the MSU extension says you need to be careful that the spokesperson doesn't tread on the responsibilities of the zoning administrator, who generally is the one presenting to the city council the recommendation, along with helping prepare the staff report to city council of the planning commission recommendation.
Hey, Kelly,
And-
remind me again, South Haven is a home rule city, correct?
Yes, it
So we
is.
just take different examples and use them or not use them or amend them as we see fit for our own use, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And also, as I've said, that the city council appoints the liaison to the planning commission, and the city council should have sole independent control of what occurs at the city council, and the planning commission can advise but cannot direct the city council what to do.
Very true, Mary. And I'm going to speak directly to you and very honestly. And I mentioned this last time. You wrote a new ordinance, had Joe Reeser read it. It was from your hand. You were to go to city council and liaise what our recommendation was. And you overrode it. And that's why you're seeing this in here. It's our way of doing what little we can to get our voice heard when you fail to represent us.
And I tried to come to you to discuss it, and I had provided it to Kate. And what that was a culmination of all of the recommendations from city council members, from the public, at public hearing, through written correspondence, addressed several items in the list of 9 or so that the city attorney was supposed to address following the September 5th meeting, never addressed when it came back to us. And as I stated at the end of the Planning Commission on November 7th, I voted yes to send it to City Council because it needed additional work. There were, and that as I said, there have been, a City Council has control of what happens at City Council, and if a City Council member wants to make a different motion than what is anticipated, that is the City Council's prerogative.
You didn't
I
even
did-
try to defend us in our recommendation. Didn't even try.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think this discussion is germane to the motion on the floor.
Very good, Larry. I agree. So we have a motion that's been supported. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call.
Please, the motion again.
It's to strike the second sentence in 5.1.
Okay.
Sherman?
No.
Barney?
No.
Campbell?
Yes.
Gruber,
No.
Heinig,
No.
Hasley,
Yes.
Stegman.
No.
Motion fails.
Any further amendments? Seeing none, we have the motion as made for the approval of the document as now amended. Any discussion on the overall document with amendments? Okay, seeing none, we'll do roll call to final approval.
Varney,
Discussion, briefly. Because I believe that this tries to interfere with the workings of the city council, I cannot support it with the last amendment not passing. The other parts I do fully support, but I cannot support the planning commission and advisory board tying the hands of city council or attempting to do so, and stepping on the role of what the staff zoning administrator is supposed to do.
Okay. Samantha, please call the roll.
Varney,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Hasley,
No.
Stegman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Did I get overlooked?
Yeah, I thought that, I didn't hear Sherman.
I'll officially say yes. For the record.
Wasn't a conflict of interest?
Unfortunately, the people at home couldn't see Sam's face.
No offense taken.
Ooh, all right. Have to get some water up here next time.
Do you want, there's some right here.
Yes, if you would, please pass. You guys want one?
I'm good.
I've gotten in the habit of bringing my own.
I'm good.
That's a good habit. Thank you.
No, thanks.
Clark?
I'm good. Thank you, Barry.
Getting a little dry. Okay. Next up is 5A, short-term rental ordinance recommendation determination. I want to thank you guys for allowing this to be put on the agenda so we can discuss it. Basically, Kelly, when the planning commission made a recommendation about the short-term rental ordinance and it went to city council, obviously they didn't accept it, correct?
Correct.
Did they reject it officially?
No, Mr. Chairman. There were motions to take other action, but there was not a motion related to the document that was sent from planning.
There wasn't even a motion to acknowledge receipt and the work done.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. So, the reason I put this on here, or asked for this to be put on, was I'd like the planning commission to do a motion that would say the following, that the city council would consider, I would like to say reconsider, but it was never really considered to begin with, planning commission short-term rental ordinance recommendation and either accept or reject the recommendation, and if rejecting, specifically state the reasons why.
I guess that would seem easy enough. Just acknowledgement of the work that was done and the framework, because we were provided quite a bit of guidance, and we put a lot into this, and, you know, and now we're into another moratorium, so really, you know, a lot of time that I think has been detrimental now to the short-term renter owners, the community, and put council under a microscope as well. And, you know, I feel for them, I really do. But I think it would have been nice to get some kind of acknowledgement of the work, or even presented to say no, and we're going to do this instead, and this is why, is fairly easy to do. It wouldn't take much.
So would you make the motion that I alluded to?
I could make that motion just for discussion, at least, otherwise it's not going to
Discussion.
get on the table. Did you get enough of that motion down on your own? Could you repeat that then for me?
To recommend to City Council if they would reconsider the Planning Commission's STR ordinance recommendation and either accept or reject the recommendation, and if rejecting, then specifically state the reasons why.
Tim, did you want to strike the word reconsider since it never was considered?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd strike the word reconsider and just consider.
Just say consider.
Consider. Because that was our we were given that task by city council to present to them for their consideration. And we did that. And we're not paid. So yeah, just to consider, I would make that motion.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. With that, since I was the one that brought this up, I guess I'll choose to be the first to speak, and then we'll go around, everyone else can chime in. In support of the motion, I would like to offer the following for your consideration. At the most recent city council meeting this last Monday night, Councilmember Arnold made a spot-on point that a moratorium extension related to STR was not necessary because the Planning Commission had made a timely recommendation that could have been acted upon. Instead of reviewing and working with the recommendation, 4 members of City Council decided to go in a completely new and less than transparent direction, in my opinion. City Council requested a review and recommendation. Upon receipt, they neither accepted or rejected the recommendation, nor was at least the minimum common courtesy acknowledging receipt made. As a volunteer body that devotes countless hours to PC tasks, most assigned by City Council, Council's lack of official action regarding the PC recommendation is completely unacceptable behavior. When I hear council members say they have talked to people and that completely new STR ordinance is what they want, I can only think to myself, who are these people? These anonymous people to which they refer. I question why City Council is disregarding Planning Commission recommendations without specifically stating why. When talking about the short-term rental ordinance that was recently reviewed, we only need to go back a few years to when the original that had been amended several times since was drafted. And basically, I'm talking in 2017 and 2018. Since that time, at least 24 people have served on Planning Commission. 24 people that are City Council's neighbors and constituents. These people have freely given their time in order to conduct city business at the request and direction of City Council. By not even discussing the recommendation Planning Commission made, City Council is clearly showing that they have no respect for what came before. Aside from the money it costs, both in staff time and attorney fees, a lot of volunteer time, council's neighbors and constituents, has been disregarded and wasted. These are not anonymous people that don't speak in a transparent public setting. Here are your neighbors who took on the STR ordinance head on. Bill Fries, Mike Neese, Rosalie Placati, Sam Dustin, Todd Heinrich, Amanda Sukup, Lygie Haney, Judy Stimson, Daryl Williams, John Frost, Brian Peterson, Susan Loafman, Velma Cunningham, Bob Sherman, Eddie Polk, Amy Nichols, Mike Campbell, George Sleeper, Mary Hosley, as well as Clark Gruber, Larry Heining, Janice Varney, and myself. The last four names I mentioned alone, if not counting service to the PC prior to 2017, 2018, account for a minimum of 28 years of Planning Commission experience. 2018 was a major year for the original draft of the short-term rental ordinance. I was elected chair in July of that year and held 4 workshops and 3 special meetings with public hearings on the way to a final recommendation by year's end, 6 months. We went through the ordinance line by line. It is the most thorough review we have ever done for an ordinance. Thousands and thousands of hours of input. After the short-term rental ordinance adoption, it has been amended several times since then. Even during meetings, short-term rentals ordinance, if they're not an agenda item, there's usually someone there, at least to comment from the audience during public comment. It's been discussed continuously since 2018. I don't know the number, but I'm sure it's in the tens of hundreds, but these are all on record and not anonymous. Basically, 7 years of transparency and compromise to come up with, yet again, another amended draft of what so much time and energy has been spent. All while still working on things like fire pits, golf carts, marijuana, coastline, etc. The list goes on and on and on for what this commission tackles. Referring back to Monday's council meeting, there was talk of lawsuits if City Council yet again decided to extend the moratorium. I'm a simple guy, so I'll try and make this a simple explanation. And Clark, like myself, is a term-limited council member, and he'll know this term well, takings. A taking case is what they refer to basically as, what this means to all of us residents is it's a type of lawsuit that is not covered by the city's insurance. All costs with these types of lawsuits associated, or they come out of the general fund. So you be the judge of what gets cut when the general fund is drawn down to pay for these types of expenses. Lastly, and to sum up, when the Planning Commission made its short-term rental recommendation, Ms. Hosley did not act in good faith, in my opinion, as the Planning Commission liaison. And she introduced, by means of another person, short-term rental ordinance along with Mr. Reeser, which in turn was supported by Ms. Wilkins and Ms. Anuki. These 4 have stepped on a lot of toes with that decision. South Haven, and here's a fun fact. Anybody know why South Haven is called South Haven? It's not that impressive. It's because we're the port that was south of Grand Haven. But anyway, South Haven has been around for 165 years. And in little over a year, it is fast becoming South Hosley. If this vote passes, I urge you, Ms. Hosley, at the next City Council meeting to review the Planning Commission recommendation and redeem your role as our liaison. That's my comment. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I would simply like to say that I fear that this body is becoming nearly as divisive as our city council, which is quite dysfunctional, actually. I don't think they can decide anything. Earlier in the year, I challenged them and I said, I don't think you're capable of deciding anything big. And I stand by that. And it's not because of what the individuals are, but that they seem not to be able to work together. Based on my own statement about the rules of procedure, whereby a representative or the owner of property needs to be here, I do believe that the city council should have taken up this particular motion, or our particular recommendation, before they substituted something different. I think it just shows kind of the awkwardness that occurred during the council meeting, and I think it should have been upon the mayor or the city manager to potentially redirect the conversation back in order to talk about our recommendation before they went on to talk about something else. So I will support the motion, but it's not because of a particular individual, but because I think that the city council did not appropriately address a recommendation from the planning commission as it should have. So I will vote for on the basis of your arguments about the process, and I will vote no, not because of anything that you said about any of the individuals involved on the council.
Anyone else?
Yes, I agree with what Michael's saying right now in terms of divisiveness and how we should be working together. And I've always prided myself as being one of the members around this table that respected the opinions of each other, although they may differ, and even in our style and in our understanding, but we've always been able to talk about it. And that has given me some sort of pride in the commission. I think, too, that our recommendation should have been acknowledged and looked at, considered. So I think I would sort of change the wording of that, Tim, to say that to acknowledge the receipt for the consideration rather than the words that were used. Consideration of that council has indeed acknowledged and received the this Planning Commission's recommendation for their consideration.
I think that's a worthy addition, Janice. But to Tim's point, I think the Planning Commission deserves and City Council owes the consideration to say yay or nay to the recommendation. And if it's nay, because we've got a better idea or whatever it might be, but I think some response from City Council is very appropriate. Certainly, they need to acknowledge receipt of it. That's important. And secondly, in my opinion, they need to accept it or reject it and offer some explanation.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think it's how we present it to City Council and the words that we choose, and they should be chosen carefully, I think.
I totally agree with that.
Not in an accusatory way, but in one of a respectful way to please acknowledge and consider. And I don't know if I would add for them to make a determination as far as a yay or nay. That's up to them, but I would present it.
Samantha, would you reread the motion, please?
To recommend City Council to consider Planning Commission's SDR ordinance recommendation and either accept or reject the recommendation, and if rejecting, then specifically state the reasons why.
And I'm good with that. I don't want to add to what Chairman said. I thought those were powerful words and also excellent feedback by those members so far who have spoken up.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
As you've noted, I was here when you were leading us through the review. In fact, I was here to do the draft that you led us through reviewing. It's disappointing when you spend that much time and that much hard work and you don't get the recognition. But I've had a whole career of that kind of action.
A lifetime of disappointments.
I seldom had a job where I had direct authority for my ideas and in my work. I had to convince people that it was worth listening to. And I frequently was not listened to and had to be proven right. So it's disappointing that City Council didn't recognize what we had done and tell us why they weren't following it. But I don't see anything gained from this motion. And therefore, I'm not going to vote in favor of it.
I'd like to just say again, Janice's words are very, very important, I think, and the choice of words in this motion or any motion is really, really significant. And if the words are perceived as accusatory or finger pointing or any such thing, it's just going to add to the divisiveness that Mike has accurately depicted. So we don't want to do that, in my opinion. But I think it's entirely reasonable to ask that they acknowledge receipt and act to accept or reject.
Yes, I agree, and I would not ask them for their reasons. I think that pins them down. I don't think it's a necessary statement at the end.
That's interesting. I mean, the amount of time and energy, maybe on a one meeting item, I don't really care. But this one has taken so much time over more than 5 years.
Yeah.
I feel, as a matter of fact, I'll go to a council meeting and come up to the podium and ask why. And I can bet you, nobody on city council will be able to give me a reason, because I don't think they reviewed it entirely. But anyway,
Chairman?
that's my opinion.
Do we have a different motion then, or an amended motion for the words?
I haven't written them down, but I think I would not say reconsider. I would use words like acknowledge the receipt for their consideration. And what was the second part that you had added to that?
Well, I did say acknowledge receipt, which were your words. I think those are well chosen, and I think they should accept or reject the recommendation.
Okay, accept
And I
or
think you're
reject
right
is fine, but-
to ask for reasons why. Those reasons will become apparent in the course of their discussion and their voting. So I don't think we need to ask for reasons, but to ask for an acceptance or rejection, I think is entirely reasonable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Larry, I listened with interest to your comments, and your comments are persuasive.
So are you amending?
I am amend.
What's that?
I did amend.
Well, we haven't voted on it.
Oh, okay. No,
So
but
you moved to amend the motion that was made to include,
to change,
to change.
yeah, using those words to acknowledge the receipt of our recommendation for their consideration and,
Okay, so that would be the first sentence in the
I
motion.
think Tim had mentioned accept or reject
and
the
accept or reject,
recommendation.
yeah.
I think the original wording included that.
So it'd be to acknowledge receipt, and then the rest of that motion, I believe, would be how it would read out.
basically state reasons why, correct?
Right.
And accept or reject the recommendation, that's already there, okay.
Can you read it?
To acknowledge to City Council to consider Planning Commission's STR ordinance recommendation and either accept or reject the recommendation.
It's a motion for city council to acknowledge
To-
receipt.
okay.
And then vote on acceptance or rejection? I didn't hear that.
And then you'll have to read again, please.
Motion for City Council to acknowledge the receipt of Planning Commission's STR ordinance recommendation and either accept or reject the recommendation.
That's fine.
Okay?
Fine with that?
And I'm good with that because when this goes through and taking out the reasoning, that's where our liaison will come in and say, you know, while at the meeting, it was discussed and, you know, originally proposed, you know, to give reasons. That's not in this motion. I feel like we should probably give reasons. And that would be an appropriate way. So then we're not tying the hands for the reasons, but they'll get to that through their discussion. And at least a representative will ask, council may not do that. That's their prerogative, but at least explaining why that motion was changed to not include that, they will hope to get some of that, you know.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on the motion?
Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, so I appreciate the comments, and I do apologize that it was not brought up. That ended up being an unusual meeting. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mike, for your comments. I do believe that a chair of a meeting has more control over coordinating different efforts, and the staff also should insert themselves when necessary. When things do not go as expected, it does help if the whole council works together to try and get things coordinated. This may or may not come up at the next agenda, at the next city council, because I do believe that the recommendations of the working group would be at the first March meeting, Kelly, do you know, versus the second July, second
I don't
February
remember
meeting?
off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
But it may be more efficiently done simultaneously to address the short-term rentals. And I do not have control over the agenda. And items I've asked to be put on the agenda have not been put on the agenda, despite asking and informing other council members of the request. So this is noted. And I will do what I can. And again, the agenda is set by the city manager, and city council members do not have much control on what goes on the agenda and when. And I can express your desires to hear statements as to why it was accepted or rejected. But you, Chairman, have already given a reason to minimize discussion because of litigation. And so as elected officials, we have to appreciate what our words cause, and I would encourage all of the planning commissioners and other board members to keep your fiduciary hat on in these times, because we are representing the city. I do want to comment, Chairman, you had said that these amendments have been ongoing and there's been lots of talk. I've only been on city council just over a year. I have heard several comments, and I saw that they were not being incorporated into changes. And as I've already said, the chair or the mayor has the control over the agenda, and staff has control over what is brought to us. So what was put forward encompassed that. And again, I do apologize that it wasn't mentioned at that meeting, but I think that, as Mike had indicated, there were others who could have stepped in.
And just to be clear, I do not expect our representative there to ask for reasons. I would just let it be as it is.
Well, I will say this, Mary, that yes, we hear a lot of things that aren't incorporated, but not once have I never entertained a motion by one of the commissioners. It's the commissioner's job to take comments and make motions out of them to be included in an ordinance or not included. So everything's talked about, that's brought up and voted on, may not always be what one person wants the vote to turn out to be, but we vote. And the majority wins out, and that's how we move forward. So I've never not entertained a motion. If something wasn't included, it's the commissioner's fault for not including it for discussion. Nobody else. With that, the motion's been amended, so we're gonna vote to amend the motion. We'll call roll.
And this vote is to
To amend.
amend the original
To
motion.
include Janice's
Thank you.
language.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Campbell,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Varney,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Now we have an amended motion. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do the roll call on the amended motion.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
No.
Hasley,
I'm trying to think if this is a conflict, where there would be an abstention. I will say that, excuse me, well,
In my eyes, this motion would be you carrying out what I would think your duties as our liaison is. Nothing more, nothing less.
What does that mean? What,
that there's not a conflict. This is how I interpreted it. So it would be a yes or no vote. No.
Sherman,
Yes.
Varney,
yes.
Campbell,
No.
Stegman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. All right, that took a little longer than expected this evening. Would you like a break before we go into the new business, non-actionable items? Would that sound good? Okay, motion for a 5-minute adjournment?
I'll make a motion for a 5-minute adjournment.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We'll be back in 5 minutes. be ready in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna reconvene the South Haven Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, February 6th, 2025. Kelly, we're doing item 7, temporary sign zoning text amendments.
Yes, thank you. As I hope you all remember, during the zoning ordinance review, the Planning Commission identified a few items to revisit for potential amendments, one of them being signs, specifically non-permanent signs. And we were slated to kick that conversation off tonight, but as you're also aware, the Planning Commission received a letter from FIRE, which is an acronym that I can't remember what it stands for, I apologize for that, but it's a civil rights organization that's headquartered in Philadelphia. And this letter makes some accusations about the city's sign ordinance, and we've forwarded that to the municipal attorney for review. So in light of this letter, my recommendation to you tonight is to postpone the discussion about signs until we are able to receive a legal memo and review that with the city attorney. I expect that we will be able to do that prior to our March 6th meeting.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
I'd like to move to postpone action on this agenda item until a future meeting, after which the council will be able to respond to the letter from FIRE and to a date when the council can be present to answer our questions about signs.
And by council, you mean attorney?
Correct.
Yes.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is that motion sufficient, Kelly?
It works for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it because it doesn't require the next meeting. It requires when we're ready. Thank you.
Yes.
And it requires legal counsel's presence.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, I think this will be unanimous, so all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 8, master plan update.
Thank you. So this item is on the agenda tonight instead of a workshop because we are, I think, nearing the end of our master plan update process. Also, our folks from SWMPIC could not be here with us. We've reviewed demographic information, goals and objectives. We've talked about the future land use map. We've developed the coastal resilience chapter. You've got a marked up draft for review. We talked a little bit earlier about some things that we know need revision yet, like the maps. But our coastal grant that helped fund this project has ended. Any work that we do from here on out is 100% city funded. And I want to remind everybody of the process to adopt the plan. Once this commission finishes the review, it goes out to surrounding municipalities, local units of government for review and comment for 63 days. And then it comes back to this group for a public hearing, and then it will eventually go to city council for final adoption. So we are a ways away yet from official completion. So given that information, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to check in to see what work needs to be done. Let's see if we can make sure that it's targeted, make best use of our time, knowing, the length of time ahead to really finalize adoption of the plan.
Okay, very good. Well, let's start to the left. Was there anything you would like further included?
I had a
or
number of things that,
talked about.
that may just fall in the category of typos, but perhaps not. So, for example, on page 37 of the packet, there's some dates like South Haven City Council on November of 2018 adopted the 2024 master plan. So those dates aren't quite right, small matter, but we might as well get those right. on page 47, again, small, but let me find that, page 47 of the packet. The traffic counts make reference to M43 north of Blue Star and M43 south of Blue Star. Well, that ought to be east of Blue Star and west of Blue Star, I think. Blue Star is running north and south, and 43 basically east-west. So maybe I'm misunderstanding what those are representing, but that didn't seem to be right. On page 49, unless we have two airports, our airport is on County Road 380 and 20th Street. The document refers to State Road 140 and 28th Avenue. So how did that happen? Again, not critical by any means, but should be correct in my
That
opinion.
was a good catch.
I'm sorry?
That was a good catch.
Oh, thank you. And then on 56, I think what we're suggesting is that entire Table 1 land cover. We want to just delete that whole table. It's not relevant, or what's the purpose there? Kelly, do you know?
Can you tell me what
It's
page
page
you're on?
56 of the packet. It's Table 1 that talks about land use distribution, land cover.
That's all
Yes, it's all stricken.
The whole table would be deleted. That's what I thought, but I was unsure about that. I think those are the only things I noted.
We can come back. That's a good start. Clark?
The only comment that I'm going to throw out, and I don't know how to best address that, this would be a packet, our packet, page 92, I think, in the master plan, page 68. And the item has to do with single-family residential land use. And the R1A, R1B, R1C zoning districts are really intended for single-family detached dwellings and other customary uses of residential neighborhoods. And at one point, we did talk a little bit, you know, we've had Ryan Kilpatrick come in here multiple times talking about if we're going to tackle housing, we may have to rethink what a single-family home is, or maybe what are buildings that house single families, i.e. duplexes, triplexes, quads, that, and he showed us multiple examples that look exactly like a residential home. And I know that in my neighborhood, there are quite a few places that are actually, are a duplex, and it's hard to tell that they're a duplex. And during my discussion today with Kelly, Kelly threw something interesting out, and that, I don't know how long you've been living in your current home?
Close to 7 years.
7 years, and she said, I just discovered within the last week of a home across the street that was a duplex. So to be there 7 years and not know it's a duplex, I think we're missing out on some opportunities. So I don't know, and I know this is just a master plan, if something that we might want to consider is really rethinking what that space could be in the way of housing. And I know as families are getting smaller, and people are rethinking space. That's my comment. I don't know the answer, but, you know, to reiterate, man, this is a single-family dwelling and that's it. And then we find out there's these places where there are two couples, you know, in one in upstairs and one in the downstairs, and it looks like a single-family home versus the home next to it. And, you know, there's potentially mom, dad, and two kids, that same number of people.
Well, some of those renderings, what was that, some kind of a workshop we had at the high school? Pretty interesting.
Very interesting, and I think a way that, you know, this is planning, this is future things to think about.
Yep, very good. Okay, Larry?
Page 70, 71, and 72, extreme heat. I'm still looking for the person that's concerned about that.
I think that's just part of the coastal resilience. I think it came in through that, didn't it, Kelly?
Sure doesn't apply today, does
Yes.
it?
Or last week.
Okay.
I don't care where it came from.
Okay.
Get rid of
Is
it?
it a concern of
Guess
anyone in
that
this city?
Should be a group decision.
Do we get rid of it?
I think we should get rid of it.
Okay, I'm on board.
We don't need to,
Is it because of our tree canopy? Is that one of the reasons that it's in there?
well, that's a solution to it.
Yeah. And,
But if we don't have a problem, why do we discuss solutions?
but will we have a problem? in the
5 years from now?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, anything else?
No.
No, that's it? You're heated up on extreme heat? All right, Janice,
Only in one of the, okay, page 117, and the second paragraph, it says additional residential land use is recommended for areas planned for attached urban housing, transitional edge, mixed-use, campus, village, et cetera. Should campus, village, and traditional edge be in there? Because I thought we changed that. 117.
Yeah, I think those occur in a few places. I think you just need to do a word search for the,
Yeah, maybe that will take care of that kind of thing. That's my only comment.
I would, just as a general matter, especially in light of Bishop Wilkins' comments and what I am hearing is, especially for the future land use and also condensing the potential new districts. So in the current master plan, after a lot of public input, we had the attached urban dwellings, which covers exactly the types of housing that Ryan Kilpatrick was talking about. And that's all been stricken. And that would seem to be more appropriate to put in for future housing, instead of the one phrase that's in there with diversifying housing options. That term is too vague, and was that on page 93, under multifamily attached residential resort. I'm just concerned that some of these changes, trying to make it more streamlined, has resulted in a very broad net that will significantly, in a detrimental way, change the characteristics of our neighborhoods. Whereas if we fine-tune things and kept much of the language of the attached urban dwelling and applied that to different areas, I think we would get the balance that we're looking for a lower price point for housing. It should cover the tiny homes. And I think the goal is to ensure that it doesn't change the outlook of the character of the neighborhood. And so, I had suggested mixed use for a larger part of the south end, but I had couched the mixed use was to incorporate the attached urban dwelling, and that was not done. That the most significant part of that change was stricken. And in seeing how this has developed, I am very concerned with having that huge swath being mixed use. If you look at mixed use, it was intended really for the CBD, and it was only supposed to be a half to a block into the area. Here, we're talking a significant amount. And because the city council does set the policy, I think it would be very beneficial and a more efficient use of everyone's time, so that it comes to us in a form that we're aligned with at the final stop, to maybe have a joint workshop or something before it goes too much further. But yes, I have to support Bishop Wilkins' concerns about the mixed use in those blocks, especially with how mixed use is defined. And to avoid things going where we didn't really intend them, I think we do need to have more districts like we did, and those were after the charrettes. Page 104. Yeah, and specifically with regard to the description of that parcel, or those parcels at the top of page 104, I do not believe that that reflects the intent that I had with making that broader. And I'm also not sure that it reflects the desire of the community as a whole. I think that reflects the request of one person to have a change to allow a building that is a church, which is allowed only by special use in our residential areas, to become multifamily. Oh, page. Sorry, it's not. Oh, for airport, Kelly, I had given you the diagram, and is it in there, or did I miss it?
So I have plan sets. It was several engineered drawings.
Okay.
And so I didn't have them put those in here.
Okay, because maybe what I can do is find out which one they would prefer and have at least one in there, because they do want to have support to modify the airport, and so it'd be beneficial to have that in the future land use.
Okay. I think the text is there.
Yeah. I'll run that by them and see if they have any comments.
Are they saying they want to expand the airport beyond its current parameters?
No, different building structures and things like that. I think they're kind of landlocked.
Well, they are till they take property. They've done that a little bit. But it is one of the premier airports around the area. So what you're saying, you want just a basic map of the runway system and the current hangars and buildings?
No, so I had provided Kelly a revised future plan map for the airport.
So their future master plan.
Correct.
But it's a plan set. It's several pages of engineered
So
plans.
He
We don't
did
want to
not-
get that detailed and.
Correct, that's what I'm saying is, I did not see what was on the drive.
Yep.
Now that I appreciate what's on the drive, I'll find out, select one to potentially
I
incorporate.
think we'd want to acknowledge in our master plan that they would continue to expand the services of the airport.
That could be a,
Very
yeah,
general.
yeah.
Yeah, I served on that board for quite a while too, so.
So for page 88, the striking of the central community gathering venue, I still believe that that is something that the community wants. And I actually think that that would support some of the efforts that the Visitors Bureau is undertaking. So, I'm not sure about all of it, but I do think that, I'm not sure that all of that should be stricken.
I did notice that. I did notice that in another place, so maybe that would cover it. But I can't point to that right now. I just noticed.
Yeah. And then on pages 119 and 120 for maps 21 and 22, the amount of vacant land, the numbers just don't connect. And I didn't know if the amount of vacant land on page 119 in map 21 was all of the green, which included the township, and that the map on page 22 was just the city, but the map on 21 does refer to just the city. So either maybe change the title or make sure the numbers relate to just the city and not the township, because there's a lot of green in the township. Okay, I had to write down my numbers written down because the page it took me to was all stricken. Oh, sorry, my mouse went crazy. So we had, all the material on the short-term rentals has been stricken, and I think we do want to incorporate something about where we do want to go with that. And based on comments, there is no indication about updating the noise ordinance, and I know that there were several comments to that effect. And I appreciate that's outside of the zoning ordinance, but the master plan is looking at the community as a whole, and I would just like to know if there's an opportunity to insert something to that effect. And that's it.
Question for Kelly. Page 123 and 24 of the packet, additional zoning ordinance recommendations. Everything was stricken and there was a single one put in. Are the ones that are stricken so stricken because the committee doing the recodification considered them all?
123 and 124. I believe everything stricken was considered by the zoning committee, but I would have to go through them one by one to be certain.
Okay, I just was curious. I figured that might have been the case, and I know that the sign one was
Yes.
stricken as well, but it's on our list, so that's of no consequence. My second comment is really echoing Clark in the sense that I'm somewhat concerned by the narratives that we have, particularly for single-family residential, given that that's the, by far the largest amount of land within the city. And given that we have had these presentations from Ryan, and given that housing is continuing to be a growing crisis, and, you know, although we don't have jobs to necessarily bring people to the town, we should be, through our master plan, somehow connecting what we've learned from Ryan into the master plan so that it then provides us a way to jump off to change our zoning and how we define the various districts for residential, as well as how they qualify, so that we can build in the opportunities for the duplexes, the tiny homes and so forth in what otherwise might have been the traditional single-family residential lands in this community. If we're left to simply put them into the other categories, you know, we may not have enough land to accomplish the need for the additional housing using those more innovative housing opportunities like tiny homes and so forth. So I would have hoped that there would have been more work on that one to be more creative and to kind of set us out on a path for the future as to how to address it in zoning. Those are my comments. I have a comment about next step, but I'm assuming that'll be next. Thank you.
And I think I would encourage the group to think bigger picture in that light. You know, this isn't the zoning. You know, if we want, if there are things that this group wants to do to incorporate the the things that we've learned from Ryan Kilpatrick, then I think a few sentences, broad strokes of encouraging innovative housing types in single-family district, a few sentences suffice, because we don't need to get into the nitty-gritty. We need to keep it broad so that when we are developing the zoning ordinance, we leave open the opportunity for the options and for the regulations to be in the zoning. The master plan shouldn't be so specific that it narrows the possibility at the outset.
And I agree with that, and I think that's probably what I'm looking for, is maybe a couple of sentences that would address what we are trying to accomplish with what we know today.
And I concur with Mike.
Well, and I would just caution, so just a few sentences then allows for thinking it's more than what it is, and that's why I keep referring back to the attached urban housing. I think that really addresses the types of housing that Ryan Kilpatrick had in the missing middle character type housing, which is housing that fits into the character of the neighborhood. It doesn't facilitate creation of 6 unit apartment buildings in a residential district. It supports the duplexes, the triplexes, up to quadruplexes, the tiny homes. Those were all the examples that were around the room when we had that open house. So I would just caution, be careful of what you ask, because I don't want the character of the neighborhood to be changed because we wanted to keep it simple, when we really were looking at missing middle type housing, which is well characterized, and allows people to understand what should come in the future for planning purposes. That's what zoning's about, planning.
And I think that's why just a couple sentences of creative ideas and future thought is the way to go, especially in a planning document. That was a good suggestion, Kelly.
For myself, I've talked about parking, and I think that's been addressed. The other thing, just like to remind everybody that South Haven was once a commercial port. It was served by 2 separate railroads. And now we don't have that. Our average age is 59, and we've seen time after time residential encroachment on commercial land. A great example is pretty much everything along the river, all of Dykeman Avenue, and a good chunk of North Shore Drive. And then you can go in other spots of town where now you have homes. There were once factories there. So any industrial, commercial property is a premium here. And you gotta be very careful that that is not encroached upon. So I think any language we can have in the master plan that would bolster that is very much needed. With that, I'll say if housing is such a concern, it may be time, and this is a tough discussion, but it may be time to really talk about height again. And I'm talking bigger buildings, multi-family, in order to provide enough housing at an economical rate. You all know, we all know that the more units you can put in one building, the cheaper the price per square foot. Okay, so now you have all these thoughts that were given to you by the Planning Commission. How do you want to proceed from here? What do you want to do with those thoughts?
Well, I think that's what I'm asking you. Do we want another workshop with Marcy and Becca? Should I take revisions back based on the things that were said today?
I would like you to take everything that was said and include it as best as possible. And if you think something needs to be a group decision, if it was, just Clark said this, and maybe the whole group really doesn't agree with this particular item, bring that back to us.
Okay.
And then we can move forward, because we need to get this down the road. We've been at it too long.
Okay.
I think that's about as simple as we can make it.
The other thing I will say is the document currently is marked up.
Mm-hmm.
They do not have a way to give me a clean copy and a red line copy. Personally, I find it very challenging to read and work with this document in its current form. I'm struggling to read, to find these small typos and things that need fixing. So I'm gonna, if we're gonna keep it in this marked up format, I'm gonna need to rely on you guys to read carefully and send me typos.
Okay.
Because I can't get a clean copy until you tell me that we don't need a marked up copy.
Well, we start there. Does everybody still want a marked up copy, or can we move on from that?
I'm okay to work with the marked up copy, but if there's good reason, or if the consensus is no, then I can do that as well, so I'm okay either way.
We historically have this one right now. So if we wanted to move forward with a clean copy and work from that, we have the historical documentation of where the clean copy came from.
Right?
Up to you.
I thought you were going to say we couldn't
Well,
get the marked up copy.
I want to use whatever copy you're going to be able to move on
Okay.
with confidence. So
Okay.
you would like to move out a red line,
I would love
you
it.
not?
But I don't want to do it if you're not ready.
I think Clark's correct. We're smart enough. We've got this copy. We
Yeah,
can
we
compare.
we can download this and have it side by side with a clean copy.
Yeah. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Yep.
All right,
Okay,
there you go.
awesome. Thank you.
And then Kelly, just once it's clean, then we'll mark it up so we see which subsequent changes,
That should work, I think.
because it should hopefully be
Yes,
less.
it should be much less. Yes.
Version 2.0.
Version 2.0. Yes. Okay.
All right?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion to consider. With respect to the future land uses, both the map and the narratives, we seem to have had a conversation about them tonight. The public has been talking about them at City Council and here. We did have the 2 workshops, most of which when we were around a table. We had an audience for one of them. There seems to be an interest in the future land uses. I guess the question that I have is there a possibility, even during the 63-day period, that this would be sent around to other jurisdictions? Is there a possibility that at one of our meetings, we could have a presentation on the agenda, probably by Kelly, of what the future land uses are, given that we probably don't want to spend money that is no longer available, and then allow the public to have comment about that we can then consider prior to the hearing on the entire document.
Was that your intent to finish this off, or what are our final stages?
Yeah, I think we'll still rely on Marcy and Becca from the Planning Commission to help us see this through to the end. And I think bringing them back for a presentation is not out of line in terms of a request.
So basically, we're looking at one more meeting where you would bring back what we just talked about, and it would be public comment? Or you would bring that back, and then we would have another meeting after that with public comment, like Mike is suggesting?
It's really up to you. The 63-day public comment period really needs to be after this group is satisfied with the document.
All right. So we need to, I'd like to see us get that done next month. And then at that meeting also start the countdown in the 62 days. I think we're ready.
Okay.
Well, and as I've cautioned, I think it could be very beneficial and efficient use of time and resources to have a joint meeting with the city council with the significant changes to the future land use map, since it comes to them for final acceptance or modification.
Well, you got that 62 days. It seems like everybody and their uncle have a chance to have input. That should cover it, shouldn't it? What do you think, Mary? During that 62-day period?
So the city council would be providing comment during that 62 days.
Yeah. Everybody
Ellie?
would.
I'm not opposed to a joint meeting. I think it's going to come down to scheduling.
Yeah. What's everybody else think?
Well, I don't think we need it, but if I need to come to a joint meeting, I will come to a joint meeting. I mean, it's up to the group.
And the purpose of that meeting with council?
Well, because the future land use map has changed.
Right, but they can read it during that public distribution at 62 days.
Right, but it's to have an open discourse among the members, if they would want that. I mean, it can be presented to city council to see if they deem it necessary. It's just, like I said, the future land use map has changed significantly since the 2018 map that had significant input from the public. And
Won't they have to approve this, city council?
City council does have, they have reserved right for final approval of the master plan in this community. And so I think we don't want there to be last minute hiccups. It's a good idea to ensure that there's council agreement with what this group is proposing. I think the planning commission does write the master plan. So that is true. This is a planning commission document. But I think there's nothing wrong with a joint meeting.
And I would say that if there was a joint meeting, it would obviously be open. So if there was a joint meeting, then if what I had suggested could potentially just go away. And it could all be done at the same time. So I'm just offering that up as an alternative.
Okay.
So we're not having two separate meetings.
Mary, do you feel with what city council is currently trying to tackle, they have time for a joint meeting between now and March?
so
Or would you rather wait till we do the 60-day period,
that's
then have a follow-up?
where my understanding is, yeah, if we're trying to get this out by March, my guess is not. But potentially it could be during the 60 days, and then amendments can be made before it's, based on that input during the 60 days, before it's put forward to city council.
Then wouldn't city council want to hear some of the comments from the public as well
Well, it
prior
would-
to that discussion between the two groups?
I think city council watches planning commission, just as planning commissioners watch city council. And they would be here while there was public comment being made. As I said, it was thrown out as a suggestion to avoid hiccups at the very end.
Well, and this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna come up with our rough draft of the master plan. It's gonna go out for 62 days of comment. And then we're gonna come back and look at all the comments. And then make any adjustments from there.
Right.
Before making a recommendation to the council.
Right.
And that's how it goes down. It's that simple.
Well, so towards that end, based on what I'm hearing, then I would recommend that the future land use map for the mixed use on the south end be removed, and because I'm hearing from residents that that's not the desired intensity use of that neighborhood.
Okay, so that's one item we'll include for next meeting, for discussion and whether it's included or not.
Sounds good.
Okay. I think most everything else was pretty benign. I didn't see anything too controversial in any of your input. Did you, Larry?
And I did hear for Bundy's, you know, we're trying to put them where they're at now. Commercial has, what, 4 different levels, and we use just generically. Would mixed use let them stay where they're at, but it's a less intense use?
You know, if you go way back, you look at the surrounding area, especially where like Bent Tree condominiums, that was commercial.
No, I know, I ate
See,
at the
so-
restaurants all along there.
So that's what I said, residential has encroached on the commercial, and now the commercial looks like the bad guy, and if it ever gets sold, nobody wants something high intensity, I don't know.
But, sorry.
We get, right now, technically, they can't be there, so we're trying to make it so they can be allowed to be there.
Exactly, and I am trying to look at the district that would be more commensurate with what they currently are and be more commensurate with the surrounding area construction, which has been there for many, many years.
Okay. Good?
Yes, thank you.
All right. We can move on. Commission member and staff comments. Staff comment?
Yes, just quickly, several of you requested registration for an upcoming Michigan Association of Planning Housing Series. I have submitted registrations for everybody who requested it. So I think you should have received a confirmation email, but I'm learning you may not have. And so if you don't see a confirmation or a notice for the Zoom come through your email in, you know, a day or two before that webinar starts, please let me know so I can try to find out what happened and why you did not get the notice that you should have.
Well, and shouldn't there been an invoice also?
I've got invoices, and I'm seeing that you're registered.
Oh, because my invoice came to me and I paid it and submitted for reimbursement.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So we may have paid twice for you. So the invoices, don't pay an invoice if it comes to you. Because I've paid for them, for the registrations. So it shouldn't have invoiced you.
It did.
Okay.
You might be registered twice.
No, I only got one invoice.
Mine came from a Nigerian prince. Should I pay that?
Don't click the link.
Good
So,
one, Clark.
I think we need to sort that out.
So did everyone else get notification of?
I believe I got email confirmation with no request for payment, so I think
I
I'm
got
good.
it, I got 2 different. I got the notification and the invoice.
I don't understand what happened this time.
It might be the Nigerian
It
prince.
might be. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No,
No.
thank you.
All right, let's see, the last round we went, so we'll go this way now.
Just thank you, staff, for preparing us for the meeting.
So just, if you want more classes, the Region J Housing Summit, so the state has a regional housing summit, and we are in Region J, which is Van Buren, Cass, Kalamazoo, et cetera. On March 11th, from 9:30 to 3, they are having a housing summit, and Mishta will be there. There will be information on community land trusts and land banks. And I emailed the information to Kelly earlier, and she can forward it to you if you want to register, and it's free, so you don't have to worry about an invoice. And it's in person or virtual. You still need to register for virtual. And I was told they may be, they will be taping it, so actually if you have a conflict, you would need to sign up to get the video link to watch it at a later date.
Okay. They didn't ask you for a gift card to pay for the planning? Okay, good.
Please thank our master planning folks for all the work that they've done and incorporated our ideas and gave us some good feedback.
Are you hot? Clark?
Yep, just to, we may not have as many jobs as we did in the past, but we are a growing industry, is growing here. We are a great place to live, and we're easily drivable to many jobs or even telecommuting. So, you know, a bedroom community is a positive growth industry as well. And then with regards to tonight's meeting, I do want to thank and acknowledge Mary for saying sorry twice. That's not an easy word to say, and to own the actions for which those sorries were given. So thank you.
Yeah, I would absolutely second that last thought. But I'd like to echo something that Mike said earlier and something that Janice said earlier. Mike spoke about the divisiveness that we've all seen in regard to city council, and we know that on many issues, we can predict the 4 that will vote this way and the 3 that will vote that way, and there's clearly a division, and that's not a good thing to see or to have. Janice made a comment about feeling a sense of pride of being part of a group, working together, respecting each other, and so on, and I think that is really, really important. I can say as I was just really happy when Eddie joined us, because that meant I was not the youngest. I'm never the youngest, the newest member of this group. But I can say great respect for everybody here, but especially for these 4 right here. You mentioned 28 years of experience, Tim. Enormous respect for all of your history and your contribution. So if we can get back to respect for each and every one of us, listening, really listening and hearing what others are saying, I think we'll be in a better place. So hats off to Mike and Janice for those comments.
Okay. And I'd agree with what Clark said and what you said, saying, I'm sorry it's a big move. And I hope you heard and understand what I said regarding the amount of hours that this group has put in, and to be passed over so nonchalantly. I don't know about anybody else on this committee, but it makes me wonder how long I want to keep volunteering. So hopefully we'll have a better working relationship going forward. With that, I want to thank Larry for running the last meeting. You're a dependable man. I also want to say I miss Mike Neese at this time, because I know he really wanted to do master planning and never really got the opportunity. So hopefully we'll see him during that 62-day period. And Samantha, I think you're starting to come into your own, but I think the Planning Commission is probably one of the better commissions you'll work with. They tend to cite pages and use the correct language at my urging over the years for striking or adding, and it's a little easier to follow. And if you ever feel that it's not, you just need to say to me, hey, hold on, I'm not with you guys yet, and I will slow the whole process down, because I want it to be accurate. So, and I appreciate everybody spending their time. Is one of the better commissions I've ever been on. And even though we've had turnover, we always seem to get quality people that follow the rules and understand the importance of transparency, and better yet, compromise. We don't always get what we want, but in the end, we vote and we go on, but we give the reasons why we do or vote the way we do. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this one and await the next fun series in 30 days.
I move to adjourn.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.